Hello, wealth tycoons. How would you feel being turned down over and over for jobs that seem pretty simple? After all these struggles, becoming one of the world's richest and most successful business people would be bliss, right? Well, that might not be your life. But something similar happened to Jack Ma. Who is he? The wealthy founder of Alibaba, the biggest online store in the world. From humble beginnings to huge success, Jack Ma's story is one of hard work, setbacks, and big picture thought. In this video, we will learn more about this Chinese billionaire who believed in his dream and changed the way business was done, even though he was turned down many times. Let's dive into the video to find out how Jack Ma changed the whole business scene. Let's get started. Jack Ma was born Ma Yun on September 10, 1964, in Hangzhou, China. He grew up in a simple home. His parents were traditional singers and storytellers, which was not a very stable way to make a living. Jack had to work hard from a very young age. There was not as much going on in Hangzhou at that time as there would be when it became a busy business hub. It was a small town back then, and Jack's childhood showed how hard it can be to grow up with few means. Even though he came from a poor family, Jack was driven to make it in life, even though school was not his strong suit. Jack had a lot of trouble in school, especially with math. People didn't think he was a smart student because he failed many of his tests. But Jack was different because he was interested. It was not enough for him to stay in his city or even his country. This desire to learn about the world outside of China would shape Jack's future. To do this, Jack thought of a clever way to do it. He found a different way to learn English because he couldn't afford to take classes. Jack would get on his bike every morning and ride to a nearby hotel where foreign tourists stayed. In return for English lessons, he would show them around his city for free. He learned the language quickly and well, and it also gave him a chance to learn about other countries and points of view. He was ready to put in the work and time, even if it meant getting up early and riding for a long time. This one-of-a-kind way of learning on his own was a big part of Jack's life and led to opportunities that helped him become successful. When he finally found the internet and started Alibaba, the business that would change his life and the lives of millions of people around the world, his English skills and knowledge of the world outside of China were crucial parts. The fact that Jack Ma was turned down so many times is one of the most interesting and inspiring things about his life. It looked like every door was shutting in his face, but Jack Ma never let no stop him. Instead of giving up, he used each failure as fuel to keep going, showing that it does pay off to keep going. Jack had to deal with one of his first big problems after high school, which was getting into college. He failed the test to get into college not once, but twice. With that much heartache, most people would have given up, but Jack was not like that. He finally passed the test the third time, which got him into Hangzhou Teachers College, where he learned English. Even though this was a big turning point, his problems were still there. Jack had a college degree, but he had a hard time getting work. He got turned down over and over again. He sent out dozens of resumes in hopes of getting a break, but he kept getting turned down. One of the best-known times for this to happen was when KFC first started in China. Jack was one of 24 people who applied for a job in the fast food business. Out of those 24, 23 were hired, but Jack was not one of them. It didn't end there for him. When Jack tried to become a police officer, he was told straight out that he was not good enough. Most people would feel crushed by these repeated rejections, which would make them think they were not good enough or capable of success. But Jack had a different point of view. He didn't see each turn down as a failure. Instead, he saw them as small steps on the way to success. It made all the difference that Jack wouldn't give up. He did not let being turned down stop him from going after his goals. Instead, he kept going because he knew that one day, someone would see how good he was. The story of Jack Ma shows us that sticking with something even when things get hard is often more important than getting lucky right away. He never took no as an answer, and that way of thinking would inspire him to do amazing things that would change the course of his life. One of the most important events in Jack Ma's life happened in 1995. It was the start of his rise to become one of the most powerful businessmen in the world. Jack was a translator at the time. He came to the US to help a Chinese company get back on its feet after a loss, and that's when he learned about the internet, which would change his life forever. It is important to remember that this happened when the internet was still very new. In China, for example, most people didn't even know it existed. Jack thought this was a crazy thing to happen. He was amazed at the thought of being able to get information instantly from anywhere in the world. For fun, Jack looked up China on the web to see what kind of online profile his home country had. He was shocked to find that there was not much there. The thing he learned gave him an idea. Why not make a way for Chinese companies to connect with the rest of the world online? The idea was amazing, but Jack didn't know much about technology and didn't have any money to start a business. Not only that, but he had a strong faith in his mission. When Jack got back to China, he did something brave. He got 17 of his best friends together and invited them to his place. He passionately pitched his idea and got them to invest in his dream of an online platform that would help Chinese companies compete in the global market. Even though Jack didn't know much about technology, his friends agreed to spend because of his enthusiasm and drive. For Jack, this was the start of his first big business, China Pages. It was one of the first websites in China that helped Chinese businesses get online. The plan was to create an online list where companies could show off their goods and services to customers all over the world. China Pages was ahead of its time, but it didn't become a big hit right away. In China, people still didn't know what the internet was, and Jack had a hard time getting companies to go online. China Pages was not the big hit Jack had hoped for because it was so hard. However, this venture paved the way for Jack's plans. Even though China Pages didn't do as well as planned, it was an important step in Jack's journey to become a business. It showed him what was possible and was the start of what would become Alibaba, the huge online store that would change the world's market forever. Even though Jack Ma didn't get the huge success he was hoping for with China Pages, it did pave the way for what would become his most famous company, Alibaba. Jack Ma did something else brave in 1999. He started Alibaba from his simple room in Hangzhou with a small group of people. Alibaba's idea was easy but groundbreaking. Make an online market where small Chinese businesses could sell their goods to people all over the world, not just in China. At a time when most Chinese people didn't fully understand e-commerce, Jack had a big dream that the internet would change the way business was done. If you are enjoying watching this video, what could be a better way to appreciate us than liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel? However, coming back to Jack Ma, it was not easy to get Alibaba going. Back then, it was very hard for tech startups in China to get the money they needed. Even so, Jack didn't give up. He worked hard to sell his idea to many backers because he was sure it would work. SoftBank, a Japanese multinational company, finally chose to take a chance on Alibaba because of its hard work. SoftBank threw a huge $20 million into the business, which gave Alibaba the money it needed to grow and spread. Even though Alibaba got a lot of money, its path to success was anything but smooth. The business had a hard time making us profit for years, and many people didn't think it would make it. Jack and his team worked very hard, but they didn't always get credit or awards for it. Some people thought Alibaba would fail, but Jack was not giving up. He had a clear long-term goal. He was not just interested in building a business. He was determined to make it possible for Chinese companies to do well around the world. Through sheer willpower and hard work, Jack and his team kept moving forward. With time, Alibaba started to get more attention, and the business started to grow. Jack had faith in the internet's power and was dedicated to his goal. In the end, it paid off, and Alibaba became one of the biggest and most important e-commerce sites in the world. Alibaba is now a global giant, and Jack Ma's story shows how important it is to be strong, have a vision, and never give up, no matter how many times you fail or are turned down. As Alibaba grew, it was when it went public on the New York Stock Exchange in 2014 that it became Jack Ma's most important event. This post wasn't like the others. The initial public offering, IPO, of Alibaba raised an amazing $25 billion, making it the biggest IPO in history. After being turned down many times, this was Jack Ma's biggest win. He had now built one of the world's most valuable and important businesses. The IPO made Jack one of the richest people in the world and cemented Alibaba's place on the world stage. Alibaba had grown into a lot more than just an online market for small businesses by 2014. Jack and his team had taken the business plan and applied it to more areas, turning the company into a giant in many fields. Alibaba tried its hand at cloud computing with Alibaba Cloud, digital payments with Alipay, and even entertainment with Youku, which is like YouTube in Chinese. Jack didn't just want Alibaba to be an e-commerce company. He wanted to change the way business was done around the world, and this growth was a big part of that. Jack Ma has had a lot of success, but he has had to deal with tough competition along the way. Amazon and eBay, two global giants that were already established as leaders in online shopping, were up against him. Jack didn't try to copy their designs, though. Instead, he talked about how Alibaba's main strength is helping small and medium-sized businesses. Amazon built its empire by keeping track of its stock and focused on large-scale operations. Alibaba, on the other hand, made it possible for small businesses to connect with customers all over the world without having to spend a lot of money or time on it. This plan was very important to Alibaba's success. Jack's goal was not just to take over the market. He also wanted to give small businesses, which often had trouble competing abroad, more power. He thought that by giving these businesses a place to go, they could get people that they would not have been able to get on their own. Alibaba's focus on small businesses set it apart from rivals like Amazon and eBay and gave it a unique place in the global market. Jack's determination to help small businesses through Alibaba not only made the company great, but also changed the way people around the world do business. Many entrepreneurs were able to take advantage of chances they never had before because they believed in the power of the internet to level the playing field. Jack Ma's leadership turned Alibaba into an example of how small businesses can be strong, and his story became an inspiration for anyone who has failed at something big, but still dared to dream. Something that set Jack Ma apart as a leader was the way he thought outside the box and how kind he was. Jack thought that running a business was not just about making money. He saw it as a way to help people and improve the world. He said that a real entrepreneur isn't just someone who wants to make money. They are also someone who wants to find answers, even if it seems impossible. He ran Alibaba and lived his life in general with this way of thinking in mind. Jack's business ideas and the way he led were both very different. He was known for being lively and charming, and his team always felt the same way. Jack was not like most business leaders. He often used humor and stories to inspire and drive the people around him. He thought it was important to encourage imagination, so he told his workers to think outside the box. Jack stood out because he thought that everyone on the team, no matter what role they held, had something useful to offer. He respected what everyone had to say, from top executives to new hires. It was important to Jack that you took care of your workers so that they could take care of your customers. He made sure that his workers felt appreciated and cared for, which led to a culture of loyalty and commitment at Alibaba. This focus on the health and happiness of employees was a big part of Alibaba's success. Jack knew that when his workers were happy, they would easily do a better job and give customers a better experience. Jack Ma felt very responsible for other people as well. He thought that when you were rich and successful, you had to give back to society. He talked a lot about how important it is to help others, especially those who are in need. Jack did more than just talk about these ideas. He lived them by helping others in many ways. His work with education, the environment, and public health, especially in rural China, is supported by the Jack Ma Foundation, which he started. Jack Ma showed that success is not just about making money through his leadership and charity work. It's about changing the world for the better and helping other people do well along the way. One of the most admired business people in the world, he had a unique mix of big-picture thought, hands-on management, and deep compassion. There were hard times on Jack Ma's path to success, just like in every other success story. Jack had to deal with a lot of problems, and problems with the law as Alibaba grew into a global giant. One of the hardest things for him was following the rules set by the government, which finally led to a big fight with Chinese officials. In 2020, Jack Ma gave a brave speech in which he attacked China's financial regulatory system, saying it was out of date and stifling new ideas. He said that China needed to change its system to get more people to start their own businesses and help the banking sector grow. Some people liked what he said, but the Chinese government didn't like it. The government saw what it said as an attempt to weaken its power over the financial sector, so it acted quickly and strongly. The Chinese government stepped in big time soon after Jack's speech. They stopped the much-anticipated initial public offering, IPO, of Jack's financial technology company Ant Group all of a sudden. Ant Group was about to become a global financial giant. They wanted to raise more than $34 billion in an IPO that would have been the biggest ever. Jack and his plans for the company took a big hit when the IPO was suddenly called off. This event changed Jack Ma's public life in a big way. Once the IPO was over, Jack was not seen by many people for a few months. There were many stories and worries about his safety after he disappeared all of a sudden. There was more and more talk about whether the Chinese government had jailed him or tried to silence him. Even though Jack finally showed up, his absence showed how closely even the richest and most powerful people in China can be watched and controlled. In China, the episode was a stark reminder of how much power the government has over people and companies, no matter how successful they are. For Jack Ma, it was a humiliating experience that showed him how limited business can be in a place where the government has a lot of power. Even with the loss, Jack Ma will always be remembered as a visionary businessman. However, the Ant Group scandal shows how difficult it is for China's government to balance new ideas with strict rules. When Jack Ma announced his exit as chairman of Alibaba in 2019, it was a big and unexpected move. In 20 years, Jack turned Alibaba from a small startup into one of the biggest online shopping sites in the world. He then decided it was time to take a break and work on other projects. His reason for leaving Alibaba wasn't to take a break or get away from business. He wanted to spend more time on his hobbies of helping others and teaching. Jack had always thought that education could change people. Throughout his work, he stressed how important young people were to the future of China and the world. He thought that education was the key to breaking through that promise, and he wanted to help shape it. After he retired, Jack focused on the Jack Ma Foundation, which he had set up years before to help causes that were important to him. The foundation's main goals are to improve schooling in rural China, protect the environment, and encourage people to start their own businesses. Jack's dedication to these issues shows that he wants to help others and give young people power. Since Jack Ma quit Alibaba, he was not completely out of the public eye. He is still a very important person in China and around the world. Jack often gives talks at business forums, foreign conferences, and educational events. Millions of people are still inspired by what he says about life, business, and leadership. He often uses lessons from his own life to show people who want to be businesses that failure is a normal part of the process, and that they need to be persistent and flexible to be successful. If you like watching business struggle stories and how they made it, then you need to give our other videos a watch too, because we have some gem of businessman stories on our channel. Do give it a watch too. Continuing with Alibaba, entrepreneurs all over the world continue to be inspired by Jack's unique way of leading, which stresses innovation, resilience, and the value of taking risks. As someone who went from being a humble English teacher who got turned down a lot to becoming one of the richest men in the world, his story shows what is possible with vision and drive. Jack's willingness to talk about his problems and mistakes makes him easy to relate to, and many people respect his ability to stay grounded despite being very rich and successful. Jack Ma's impact hasn't gone away since he retired. Young leaders today are inspired by his story and influence to think big, act bravely, and use their success to make the world a better place. Jack may have left Alibaba, but his work to improve the world through education and charity will mean that his influence will last for years to come. So what did Jack Ma leave behind? Does his story have more to it than just being about another billionaire? Jack Ma's life is a powerful example of how strong persistence can be and how important it is to always believe in your goal. He wasn't the smartest kid in the room like many great entrepreneurs. He didn't do well in school and wasn't born into money or power. He instead had to deal with many problems and failures throughout his life. But what made him unique was that he was steadfast in his desire to build a business that would connect Chinese business owners to the world market. Every time someone turned him down or let him down, it helped him get to where he wanted to be. We can learn a lot from his story. To be successful, you don't have to be the best at the beginning. You have to be strong and determined. Jack Ma said that the only way to be successful is to be okay with failing. He thought that if you kept going, even when things got hard, eventually the world would have to recognize your hard work and say yes. One of the most important things to learn from Jack's story is to welcome difficulties instead of running away from them. Jack affects a lot of people outside of Alibaba. For businesses all over the world, he is a sign of hope because he shows that anyone can go from being small to being great. Interestingly, he focuses on helping small businesses. Jack has given millions of people the chance to follow their dreams by building a platform that lets these businesses reach customers all over the world. This focus on giving people power has really hit home, showing that creativity in business can grow even in tough situations. Jack Ma's goal for Alibaba was not just to make a great business. He also wanted to change the way people buy and sell things in China and around the world. His work to make e-commerce available to small and medium-sized businesses, SMEs, has changed the way many people make a living. Like him, he has shown that technology can help level the playing field for entrepreneurs who might not have had access to standard ways of doing business. Jack Ma's life shows that real success is more than just getting rich. It's about making a change in other people's lives and making the world a better place. His charitable work supports this view. Through his foundation, he has given a lot of money to healthcare, education, and protecting the environment. Jack wants to leave a legacy that will continue to inspire people for years to come. A world where future generations have the tools and chances they need to achieve. Jack's journey is an amazing mix of hard work, creativity, and kindness. A lot of people look up to his ability to bounce back from bad situations and make a permanent difference in the world. He shows that anyone can leave a valuable legacy if they work hard, are strong, and really want to help other people. His story makes us all want to think bigger, act braver, and try to make a difference. It also reminds us that success isn't just about making money, it's also about making the world a better place. What did you learn from Jack Ma's story? Do share your key takeaways with us in the comment section below, and don't forget to watch other business stories as well. If you enjoyed watching the video, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.